Welcome to GTI Insight, the Global Taiwanese Institute newly launched podcast. I'm Marta Burtsoi-Kelly, the host and also the program manager of the Global Taiwan Institute. So I'm really happy and delighted to have with us Mike Fonte. He needs no introduction, but I'm just going to give a couple of highlights of his very impressive bio. So Michael Fonte is the director of the Democratic Progressive Party mission in the United States, where he facilitates engagement between Taiwan's DPP and policymakers in Washington. His first connection to Taiwan was as a Catholic missionary working in central Taiwan. Mike holds a Master in Theology from Maryknoll Seminary and a Master in Chinese Study from the University of Michigan. So welcome to GTI Insight. It's a pleasure to have you.
Delighted to be here.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and they're all going to focus on, the role of the DPP and President Tsai, the presidential election in Taiwan coming up in January 2020. Can you give us a brief snapshot of the DPP primary that saw the victory of President Tsai over Premier Lai?
Yeah, it was an interesting race. Actually, it was unexpected. President Tsai is, of course, the incumbent. Normally, there's not a challenge, but Premier Lai kind of at the last minute decided to challenge. So there was some tension in the party over that, how to go forward, what kind of polling should be used, etc. They finally decided on a final product, which was polling, I think it was 15,000 calls, spread over 3 different polling groups.
Mm-hmm.
Half the polls were cell phone, because a lot of kids no longer wear, or even seniors no longer have landlines. So we try to get better combination of things. So it was a tight fought victory. I think the end result was, I'm happy that it was a large enough margin, 8+%, so that Premier Lai and his followers didn't say, oh, whatever, fight about it. So it was a pretty substantial victory, not only over. They tested President Tsai against Han Guoyu and Kowenza. Okay, so there were various, and both of them, and she came out ahead of everybody on all those. So it was a big victory. The Premier Lai gave what I think was a very gracious concession speech afterwards, and very important, because he emphasized what was going on in Hong Kong, the threat to Taiwan. It was his way of saying, I think, to his more fundamentalist, kind of hardcore pro-independence people, we have to be careful, because China is prepared to do some things in Hong Kong and maybe in Taiwan, which would be tipped if we were moving more towards independence, which some of the more dark-green people wanted to hear from him, or thought he was less cautious, shall we say, for President Tsai. So I think that was a very important turning point. Some of those really darker green, older types still are complaining a bit, but I think by and large, the party has solidified around President Tsai.
Mm-hmm. Which is good, because, as you said, the margin gives, no doubt of her victory, the big margin between them, and also Premier Lai's consensus speech kind of called for unity within the party, which I think is crucial and essential going forward towards the election.
Absolutely. I mean, the DPP cannot win if it's divided, and that's just that simple. I think they understand that and are trying now to make sure that unity is solidified.
That's very good. So looking ahead between now and the presidential election that are going to take place January 2020. So what's next for President Tsai presidential campaign from now until then? What's on the agenda? Also, what are the most important elements of the Tsai agenda that let her win the primary that are going to be incorporated in the agenda for the presidential election going forward? So what should we expect?
I think the one key element was President Tsai's emphasis on preserving the sovereignty of Taiwan and the freedom and human rights that Taiwan enjoys. I think, again, the Hong Kong demonstrations and the Chinese pressure on Hong Kong has given a voice kind of to that side of her policy making. That is, she's very cautious, but she's very firm about the sovereignty of Taiwan, and will use that in the theme going forward. Meanwhile, of course, she had to, I think the big thing about President Tsai is that she's not a natural politician, shall we say. She's much more professional, urban professional woman. She's a lawyer by training. She's a negotiator. I remember once, I've known her for 20 years. In 2000, I went to visit her. She was just named Mainland Affairs Council chair. And I went in and sat beside her and said, so how do you like your new job? She said, I'd rather be negotiating. And that's who she is. She's a careful, detailed person. And what I think she did during the campaign with the contest with Premier Lai, and will do going forward, is emphasize her program. She's not a big self-promoter, but I think what she did was say, look, here's what I've done with my presidency so far. We've started this, we've started that, the southbound policy, some of these 5+2 programs. Not all of them have come to fruition. I want 4 more years so I can make that happen. I think that was a very powerful message. There are problems, domestic problems, due to pension reform, labor reform, other issues, gay marriage. I think those are still going to stay in place as questions. But I think what she's going to emphasize is, I'm working on the sovereignty, I'm working to preserve what I have, and to move forward on that agenda. So I think that will be the key program that she does. I think she's going to be more visible. That's what happened at the end of the campaign to get the presidency, get the nomination. She was out and about much more than normal, going and speaking here and there. She made sure that she did a lot of work with defense-related things. Shows up when they had different exercises, visiting the camps and stuff. I think that element of her being more visible was very important in the campaign against Premier Lai, and will be, I think, the thing that she works on.
And she's been doing a lot. I mean, as you said, she's not a politician. She likes to negotiate, but I think that's her strength, considering what's going on with cross-strait relations. I think that's actually a big plus on her part, that she has that skill, and also how she's focused on not promoting herself, but actually doing things. And we see that her program, like the new southbound policy, is going very well, even with the indigenous defense industry. So she's actually doing a lot, and it's good that people hear about it and know about it because it's there.
Yeah, I think that's the point I was trying to make. She's trying to sell it a little bit more than she was doing it, but have to sell it. And I think her social media team is doing that a lot more. YouTube postings and Facebook stuff, that kind of energy is going forth.
And that's going to boost her ahead and then help her with the rest of the remaining months leading up to the presidential.
Yeah, I think she's going to emphasize that, and whoever the KMT candidate will try to beat her up on domestic policy, but also cross-straits policy. And I think that's where I think the DPP has a bit of an edge, is on the cross-straits issue. KMT, not clear who the candidate is going to be right now. As you know, Han Boyu, the mayor of Kaohsiung, is in the race. Terry Guo Taiming is also in the race. He's Foxconn being exec. There are other candidates, but I think they're going to come down to those two. And both of them have China lean, shall we say. Of course, Terry Guo has 1 million people working for him in China and making a lot of money there. So you can bet the Chinese have him by the ear. By the ear. And Han Guoyu has shown kind of his positive energy towards China. He went to Hong Kong, he visited the TAO offices, visited the Chinese officials, and when the Hong Kong extradition demonstration took place, kind of said, trying to avoid the question. So I think there's a lot of room there for Tsai Ing-wen to emphasize her focus on sovereignty for Taiwan and protection of human rights and freedoms of people. So it's going to be an interesting race. I don't know who's going to show up or who's going to be the chosen person for the KMT. Han Guoyu is, unlike Tsai, he's a politician. He loves the camera. He gets up there and he does his Italian stuff. He waves his arms and he talks a lot about what he's doing and what he's going to do, and promises. Terry Guo is a much more kind of sophisticated, big-time business person. My bet is that the traditional KMT elders probably like Terry Guo more than they like Han Guoyu. Han Guoyu is kind of the ordinary rummage guy. You can say other things about him, but he was kind of a big nobody. He was in the legislature for a while. He did other work, but he emerged thanks, I think, to a little Chinese help on the social media stuff. Not that he's got money from them or anything, but I think there was a support for him. But I think Guo may be more likely to be the candidate for the KMT. But then how are they going to choose is another question. Are they going to do poll? That's what they're supposed to. That's what they said they're going to do. National poll, landline poll, I think only. And in that case, I think Han Guoyu might show up better than Terry Guo. But I think the head cheese wants to see Terry Guo. So what are they going to do? Not clear. I mean, once before, as you know, last time around, his Hong Shou was chosen by their process to be the candidate. And then when they started scanning what was actually the polling like and everything else, and what the response to her was, and she was saying things that put her much closer to China, they actually dropped her and got Eric Chu to be the candidate. So there's some question of how they're going to choose and if they stick with what they choose.
So the process for the KMT is still very fluid, and we still don't know how they're going to do it, when it's going to happen, let alone who's going to take it.
That's right.
So it's still a big question mark, yet the time is ticking. And
Yeah, it's not that long now. It's 6 months, maybe 6 months.
I wonder if that's going to harm the KMT more than help it to wait so long until somebody comes out victorious.
I think the big question is how are they going to position themselves on cross-straits issue. Whoever the candidate is has to make. Now, Terry Guo and Han Guoyu have both stuck with ROC, Republic of China, as their mantra, which has always been traditional KMT mantra. But how do you interpret that up against PRC and the One China question, all those issues? I think that's where, in my opinion, I'm not prejudiced or anything, but in my opinion, I think the DPP has an edge up. Certainly One China, one country, two systems has nobody likes that in Taiwan. The vast majority does not. So if anybody in the KMT camp is going to use anything like that, I think it's going to be damaging to them. I think the bigger focus that, if I was the KMT campaign manager, is on those issues which created such turmoil in the last November election.
For the local elections.
For the local elections, which, as I said before, was pension reform, which hit a lot of people, labor reform, which also hit a lot of people, environmental issues, gay marriage, other things like that.
All right, that was very fascinating. Do you have any final thoughts you want to leave our viewers with?
Well, I think it's very important to note, and probably have said this already in the podcast, how strong the support for Taiwan has been by the Trump administration, kind of across all levels, from DOD through state, through NSC, a variety of ways in which they've shown that. Photo of John Bolton speaking to David Lee, National Security Advisor, photo of Matt Pottinger speaking to Sizizhan, who's the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs in the Solomon Islands. So a lot of show of support for Taiwan. They're going to be very careful about not specifically talking about President Tsai or the other, but I think that bodes well for the future of Taiwan, whoever's. And that's where it's going to be interesting how the KMT positions itself up against that support from the United States and looking a little bit more cautiously, shall we say, than China. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I think there's some real possibilities for DPP to come back again. I think the other question that's going to be issue is what's going to happen to the legislative elections. They're all up for a vote. As you know, a certain chunk of them, a pretty big chunk, are proportional members. That is, you get depending on how much percentage of the vote, you get a percentage of the proportional list, which is I think 34 long. So I'm a little more nervous about the local election because that's where some of these issues of, hey, I got my check and what happened to my pension reform, that are the same. Is that they're going to pin that on the local person? So we'll see. I think that's going to be much more contentious. As you know, right now the DPP has a majority. If they don't have a majority in the LY, then that creates tensions about getting defense budgets passed, etc. I guess that's the other thing I'd say is that at this point, DPP certainly, and I think in general, the country is supportive of defense moves for deterrence, and they're trying to emphasize that role, keeping things so clear that any Chinese journal looking across the street says, today is not today. It's just too much that would create immense danger to anybody trying to enter through the sea. So I'm cautiously optimistic that things will stay on a steady course for now. I think Xi Jinping has enough problems. More problems? We'll see.
Well, we always hope for democracy, and we always hope that Taiwan will continue on its wonderful path. It's been a beacon of democracy, not only in Asia but in the world, a great partner of the United States, and we hope it continues on that road going forward. So thank you. Yes.
Say Jayo, Jews.
Jayo.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's go. Let's go. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for having us here. We hope to see you again soon, maybe once we get closer to January 2020. You're always welcome to GTI Insight. Thank you for being with us today, and to our viewers, stay tuned for more episodes. Thank you.